All right, Pouring Nation, a lovely viewer, Shelly, asked some great questions about base layers and flow extenders. So the first question, is the paint for a base layer or flow extender calculated as part of the overall paint requirement? Short answer is absolutely it is. If you need, for example, these 12 by 12 square canvases, I need about 7 ounces, 6 to 7 ounces of paint for each. That being the case, I would use probably 30%, give or take, so 2 ounces for the base coat, 4 ounces for the paint if I wanted to cover everything with the paint. Same thing with flow extender. I might use 4 ounces of paint for my main pour and then do 2 ounces of paint on the outside as a flow extender. But the total of those two together, the paint I use and the flow extender or the base coat, is going to equal my 6 to 7 ounces of paint. So you don't need extra, although having a little bit extra is always nice. The second question, which we're going to do the test on today, is do a base layer and a flow extender achieve the same result, which is to move the composition? Short answer to that is no. They're a little bit different, and I'm going to do an experiment to show you exactly why. So I'm going to do a black base, fire colors, red, orange, and white. We're going to do a straight pour for the main pour, and then I'm going to use less paint on my main pour because I don't want it to cover everything, because I want it to stretch more so I can over amplify the differences between a base layer and a flow extender. This one has a little bit more white on that last pour in, but we're going to compare the starting to the ending, not each other, except for where it changes from where I initially poured it and where it gets poured out. So that will work just fine. Okay, now we're going to pour both of our straight pours just right in the middle. All right, so now we're going to take our flow extender. Okay, and I can, if I wanted to, I could spread this out a little bit, or I can leave it like this. I'm going to leave it like this because it's going to amplify again a little bit of what I want to show here. But again, I could spread it out on all the sides if I wanted to. But the whole idea is to allow, when you tilt paint, it rolls up on each other and it rolls up on the end. So if I have this flow extender out here, the black's going to roll up on the black and it'll allow my composition to extend rather than roll up on itself and for me to lose the center part of my composition. So now let's tilt these, and I'm going to tilt them the same way. Up and to the right, back, up and to the left, back, up and bottom left, back, bottom right. So now we're just going to even these out before it dries. As always, if this has been helpful, please paint that like button. It does help this video get spread to those looking for these type of answers. So one thing I really notice here is because this was touching flat canvas when I put it down, that means that it is tied to that canvas underneath. And so essentially it has a home or an anchor where that paint, as it goes and comes back and goes and comes back, is going to stay centered around that. Because I had a base coat down before I put this paint on, it's got a place that it can move around. And so it's going to move, that center concept is going to stay itself, but it's going to move around instead of kind of opening up as I go back and forth, because it doesn't have an anchor. It's like a boat on the ocean. It's just moving around with the tide, not necessarily staying right there. So if you really want to keep the center of your composition on a straight pour or something like that, where you have this cool looking stuff happening in the center, then you want to have that touch bare canvas and then push it all out there. If you want your piece to be more flowy and to be able to move where the center piece of that thing is, that composition is, then you're better off having a base coat. Now, I also find that this tends to open up in the center faster, and this tends to open up on the outside faster. So, interesting fact that I didn't know, because I never thought of myself as an artist and didn't really understand any of this, but if you layer a yellow on top of a black, you get green. And you can kind of see that green along the outside of my painting here. Kind of a cool thing that you can use. I'm hoping this, it doesn't detract from this painting. It kind of reminds me of my old days when I was a dumb little Cub Scout and throwing my Snickers wrappers into the fire and getting that little bit of green flame from the plastic as it came out of the fire. We'll see how it turns out when it dries. And the second thing, if you want to learn how to layer your cups, whether you use thin layers or thick layers to make the best acrylic pour you can do, this is the video for you.